Hey everyone, Chad and Melissa here. We wanted to take a minute and address one of the posts that Melissa put up. We got some good feedback from people kind of asking some questions relative to the content that was in the post that she shared from our friends down at Active Life, and then how that kind of related to our programming and some concerns that people were having. And we figured if a couple people voice their opinions on there might be a few more that have similar questions and similar opinions. We also want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable putting that sort of information out there because if we don't hear that feedback, then we don't know it exists, right? So thank you, first of all, to Jimmy and Teresa and Erica and Terry. And if I forgot anyone else that made a comment on there, thank you to you as well. Um, so, Melissa, talk to me a little bit about what the post was that you put up exactly, what the content of it was.
So the premise of it was not having to back squat heavy, or I guess you could translate it to any movement, not having to do it heavy as consistently as most people think, and that there is a kind of threshold that you reach where, if you get strong enough and you continue to do this, that the returns kind of diminish, you're not necessarily gaining more strength. You're at a higher risk for injury after that.
Sure, and not even that you're not getting more strength. Maybe you are, but is the juice worth the squeeze, and to what end? And
And they
and
also talked about, why? Why do you want to be that strong? Is it just an ego thing, or is it something that you should actually be working on?
sure, and I know the post was from our buddy Sean, Dr. Sean Pastuch, and he's got a great approach and a great sense of humor, and he did include something in the end like if you're gearing up to qualify for the Olympics as a weightlifter or you're a national ranked powerlifter, like go ahead and ignore this message because you should fucking squat heavy a lot, because that goes back to the why, right? It's relative to their specific goals to do that.
Yeah.
Now, some of the comments that we got, I know Jimmy had mentioned, well, then why are we squatting, doing kettlebell squats that are heavy every Wednesday? Let's think for a second about what that should look like, right? And if it doesn't look like what I'm about to describe to you, then you need to maybe either shift something that you're doing relative to the loading there, or talk to a coach about some positioning issues or something that maybe is just not right. Okay, but when we look at just across the board, let's say you move really well and you're a relatively strong person. I'm going to use Matt as an example, Prina, on this. So this 25 rep goblet squat, what we want to look for is a minimum competency of about 50% of your body weight for 25 reps with that 2 second eccentric tempo, that 2-1-x1 tempo that's been prescribed, right? That doesn't mean that's the weight you have to use. It means that at that point we know like you're pretty strong with that movement. You have a decent amount of competency in squatting and the squat pattern to do that, right? It also doesn't mean that going above or working below that is necessarily wrong. It kind of depends on you. But we do also have to take into consideration what your top end strength is and then what that movement looks like. So going back to Matt, if I remember correctly, when Matt was doing these a while back, I want to say he was using like the 96-pound kettlebell. If it was less than that, you're welcome, Matt. You're stronger than I just told everyone you're stronger than you are. If you were using more than that, I'm sorry, but I want to say it was somewhere around there. Now, Matt just squatted over 400 pounds for 100 or for one rep max. 100 rep max. Jesus Christ, Matt, that'd be terrifying. So for a 1 rep max back squat, he just hit. I believe he told me 425 the other day. So squatting 25 reps at 96 pounds is at tempo is very, very submaximal. It's hard because of the volume and the movement itself and the tempo, right? So it feels heavy relative to those things. Okay, again, I'll give you another example. Myself, coming off of months of inactivity with the move at the gym, um, you know, at best as an adult, my best back squat was 385 or 395. Okay, I was at most, I think, using either the 88 or I might have jumped on that 96 game with those 25 rep kettlebell goblet squats. recently, getting back into classes, I've only been going up to the 70 pound, and then the drop sets are at 35 pounds. So again, looking at relative to max strength, it's around 25, maybe 30% of the heaviest weight that you can lift on a bar. So if I can only squat 120 pounds with a barbell, then I shouldn't have a 60-pound kettlebell in my hand for 25 of those reps, right? If I move really poorly, if I have real poor positions and I can't get to depth, or I have these chronic, then I need to look at, am I getting full range of motion? Am I getting maintaining the tempo? Am I maintaining positions throughout? And if you're not, discard that weight and drop back down. Please remember that what you're doing when you come to classes is generalized programming for a group class. It is absolutely imperfect. There is no way for me to predict who comes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and who comes Mondays and Thursdays, and who comes every day of the week, and there's no possible way for me to predict that. So that's one of the things that you give up with group programming. While our group programming it's well thought out and there's a lot of time put into it and considerations, it is not perfect. It's not made for you. So you cannot look at it as this programming is not good for me. You're right. It's not good for anyone because it's just made to kind of let you drink from the fire hose of fitness, right? It's giving you as much good stuff as we can on a regular basis and hoping that you come on those days, right? It's all we can do. So when we look at how the day breaks down, if you look at the movements, most days include some sort of upper body push and pull, some sort of lower body push and pull, usually some sort of core stability or shoulder stability, some sort of stability work, right? And then we'll put, there's some conditioning, monostructural things, and hopefully some breathing drills being done at the end of class, right? So that's pretty much every day in some way. Now, each day has an emphasis, right? So Mondays, you're seeing more of a lower body push emphasis, whereas Fridays, you're seeing more of a lower body pull emphasis, and Thursdays, you're seeing an aerobic emphasis. So there's different emphasis placed on those days, but the movement patterns exist in all of them, right? So for now shifting to some, the comments on like repetitive nature of the movements. Well, we really have 6. I mean, you could make an argument 7 fundamental movement patterns. They're going to be they're going to be repetitive, right? We're going to squat, we're going to hinge, we're going to push, and we're going to pull with our upper body. We're going to do some core work and we're going to do some unilateral work, right? You could add into that rotational work and you could get into the specifics of an upper body push and pull. Is it vertical push and pull? Is it horizontal? Is it at a specific angle, right? There's nuances within there, but that is what happens in classes on a regular basis. So yes, you're going to see repetitive things. If you are sticking to the prescribed tempo and the prescribed level of effort based on and relative to the movement, it shouldn't be problematic. Now,
and it should offer enough variance.
It should offer enough variance. Now, on the other hand, Melissa brought up a very good point as well when we were looking at this and debating what we need to make sure that we cover. If when you come into the gym, if that's the only hour of your day that you're active and doing something that's moving the needle in a positive way for your health, if that's the 1 hour that it happens, the other 23 are impacting how you feel when you come through there. So if you're not sleeping enough, if you're not eating well, if you spend your whole day sitting at work and then you go home after your workout and you sit on the couch and
drinking water, stress,
all of those things play a role, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take a day off because I don't want to squat on Wednesdays or I don't want to do rowing on Thursdays or whatever it is that you're doing, and that day off looks like today's my day to veg because it's my off day. Gave Melissa the bunny eyes. Because it's your off day and you decide I'm going to sit on the couch and crush some Ben & Jerry's and maybe slam a few beers back and not do anything. Obviously, I'm offering an extreme example, but you guys know as well as I do, many people take that approach. I earned it. I worked out hard this week for 3 days. You didn't fucking earn it. It's not an earn. You're not a dog. Stop rewarding yourself with food. And that's not to say you can't have ice cream once in a while, or you can't veg out or have a few beers, but also understand how all of these things intertwine and how they all work.
And it's easy to blame or to put blame on, the squatting. And it's a lot of people don't look at that bigger picture.
Sure.
And don't take that into consideration.
And a lot of times it's like usually the deadlift is the bastard child of of this thing hurt me. Deadlifts hurt me. No, they didn't. Your lack of core stability, strength, positioning, technique, the fact that you have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of chronic overuse or injury or whatever it is, there's a million factors that led up to that moment when you hurt yourself. Not the thing that happened in the moment, right? Please understand that unless someone like threw a barbell at you and it fell on your back while you were deadlifting, right? It wasn't the barbell that hurt you.
What about that guy that had just started and tore his bicep deadlifting?
Yes. Yeah, we had a guy who started, and he didn't say like your workouts hurt me, just
no,
but he came
the
in.
Deadlift didn't tear his bicep. I mean, yes, ultimately it did, but
yeah,
that wasn't the cause.
He came in and dude was super stressed, did nothing but really crazy high intensity training stuff. Was doing extra stuff on top of coming to classes, and a couple weeks into his membership was deadlifting and
sub-maximal weight. It wasn't even that heavy.
Yeah, and ripped his bicep.
Yeah.
So again, this is not about like you're wrong, we're right sort of thing. What I want this to be is I love these open channel discussions and the ability for everyone to ask questions. Ask questions. Because if you don't know what's going on and you're making an assumption that you do, we don't even know how to help you understand because we don't know that you have the question. So rather than having backroom discussions about, man, we're squatting too much or whatever it is, right? Go to your coaches. If they don't provide you a good answer, come directly to myself or Melissa. Shoot us a message if we don't cross paths a lot, if your timing just doesn't line up with us. Part of what we want to accomplish here is to help educate you guys and get you to understand what's going on. It's an imperfect system. There's no way for us to be present at all times for all people and write a program that's perfect for every single individual that comes to the gym. That is not what this is, unless you're doing personal training or individual program design. Then it should 100% be that, and it should be tailored specifically to you and your schedule and your needs and everything else. And then if you're telling me, if you're a client of mine and you're like, hey, you're fucking killing me with these squats and I just keep giving you squats, well, then you should fire me, right? Like, unless we have some sort of discussion about like, hey, well, let's fix this and change it. But point being, the group model has holes in it, right? There's benefits to it, but there's limitations and there's shortfalls. And one of those is there is no perfect program. There's no way to account for every different body, everyone's different movement patterns and histories and past injuries and current stressors and current lifestyles and age and training age and all of these fun factors that come into play when you talk about trying to train someone effectively. And I think that one of the problems that Melissa and I are noticing, and I've been talking to Tony, our intern, a lot about, is that this is a field where people feel compelled that because you can do a Google search on it, that, now you're the expert, right? And this is not to say that I know everything, and I'm constantly learning from people like Dr. Sean. Like he's a good friend of ours, and we take a lot from him. We've worked with them for a couple of years now, and many other people in that space. But I would never Google, how to run an accounting firm and then walk into your office and be like, hey, you're doing those spreadsheets wrong. Right? But if I am going to do some of my own accounting, I might ask you, am I doing these wrong? Or how would I do this? Or what are your thought processes behind this thing? Ask those questions because you should be able to learn, and we should have an explanation for you, right? And if we don't, then there's something wrong there. And not just us, anyone in this field. They should have an explanation for you, right? But I want you to think about those of you who are having pain or discomfort from repetitive movements. We might want to look at how you're moving, right? Like if you have a shitty squat, and I just keep using the squat example because that's what was brought up, right? If you have a shitty squat and then you squat a bunch of times, you're going to probably get hurt, right? I'm here to tell you that, right? If you pitch forward, you can't get to full range of motion on your squat, your knees buckle, your back rounds, all that sort of stuff, add volume and weight, it's going to get worse, right? But the volume that you guys are seeing in the way it's being written, if you're following those things, it shouldn't be beating you up. And if it is, then let's have a discussion about why. If you haven't taken a rest day in, 5.5 weeks, maybe you need to take a fucking rest day. If you've taken 4 rest days every week for the last 5.5 weeks, maybe you need to do less rest days. Or maybe we need to look at what's happening on those rest days. Are you going to, a yoga class? Are you coming in and doing an hour of mobility work and running through a ROMWOD? Are you, what's happening during those times? And let's get to why that stuff is happening. So ask your coaches about these things. Take a real hard look at your movement. Is it something that this is problematic to me because of the way that I'm moving, or because I'm interpreting heavy relative to the heaviest thing I've ever done, right? Versus heavy relative to the reps and the given movement and the tempo, right? If I gave you a tempo of if those squats were a 6-second eccentric with a 3-second pause in the bottom, right? Heavy is not going to be super heavy relative to your best lift, right? It's going to be a lot harder. So the way that it's described as heavy, I understand for some of you this is still taking some getting used to, but it has to be within the context of what's being written, what's being prescribed, if that makes sense. So just start to take a look at those things. And if you're unsure, ask. Comment on the Facebook group, tag Melissa or myself, shoot us an email, stop us in the gym when you see us, or the same thing for our coaches, right? Go to those coaches that you're working with, ask for their feedback and their input. If they're unsure or they can't answer your question, they're fucking fired. No, I'm just kidding. If they're unsure and they can't answer your question, then come to one of us and we'll help you out with it. All right, and then we'll also address it with that coach so that they understand in the future. But I guess we'll leave you with that. We want to make sure that we address these concerns because we really like getting the feedback. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we don't get feedback from you guys until it's too late, or until we have no idea why you're not coming to classes, or why you said this place sucks and I want to leave. But let's keep those sort of things in mind, and let's find a way to make the group model fit the best that it can for you, so that you're armed with decisions that when you walk into class, you know that, all right, this sort of squatting pattern is not great for me. I'm going to attach some bands to the rig and do some RNT training to fix the way that my hips shift when I squat. I'm going to use dumbbells instead of a barbell. I'm going to use a box, whatever the progression or regression is to make you move better, so that you can layer on that volume and that challenge, right? We'll help you find it, right? That's the goal. And then you need to be responsible enough to actually apply it when you come to classes, right? Big Moose, anything else that you got? Or did we touch on everything that we... Yeah. All right, guys. So again, keep coming in. Keep asking your coaches. If there's something that's really bothering you and not working, reach out. You have access to us on the Facebook page. You can send emails. You can stop people when they're walking through the gym. Okay? Do those things. That's the point of why you're here. We don't need you guys to discuss amongst yourself how to fix the programming or whatever else is going on in the gym when, frankly, it's not your job, right? It's your job to come in or not your job, but it's as a member, you come in, you train, have some fun with it, ask some questions so you learn a few things and feel better on your way out the door. All right, guys? Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.